Hi Stitch family, it's Andrew here. You're probably noticing I'm not wearing my normal Stitch t-shirt today. I'm rocking wipeoutloneliness.org. And that's because this video is about the not-for-profit charity component of Stitch. If you're a member of Stitch, you've probably seen messages about the community being a not-for-profit charity. And we've got a website, wipeoutloneliness.org, that works hand in hand with Stitch to deliver on our social mission. So this video is to help you understand what that's all about, why there are two separate organizations and how they fit together, what the community is versus what Stitch does. And I'm going to talk in a fair bit of detail because essentially this is my life's work and you know, it's a passion for so many members in the community, but it's really important to understand because you are all part of that story. You are all helping make a difference and making positive impact on other members of the community. And there's a lot more that we can be doing. So the more you understand, the better it is. Shall we get into it? All right, to understand anything about Stitch, you need to be familiar with a concept called social enterprise. This is something I'm super passionate about. I actually wrote my master thesis on social enterprise over a decade ago and have been working on impact-related businesses ever since. So what is the social enterprise? Well, even if you haven't heard of social enterprise before, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of charities and businesses. In simple terms, charities are designed to do good and businesses are built to make money. Charities rely on funding from donations and grants and giving, whereas traditional businesses have some kind of business model that generates revenue and profits to shareholders. Social enterprises sit somewhere in between. Social enterprises are businesses which have some kind of business model that generates revenue, but instead of having a goal of maximizing profit, social enterprises have the goal of making a social impact by improving the world in some way. I can vividly remember hearing about social enterprise for the very first time. It was in a lecture on entrepreneurship and I was looking to what to do with my life. And I got tingles down my back and the hairs on my arms stood on end because it was just like a life-changing moment. I just realized this is what I wanted to devote my time to. It's not that a social enterprise is better necessarily than a traditional business or a traditional charity. Just for me personally, the idea of a business that can make an impact just seemed like the best of all worlds. So unlike a traditional business, a social enterprise has that social impact component. And for those of us who want to have some meaning in our lives, that's really important. But unlike a charity, it's able to do it on its own terms by having its own sustainable model. It doesn't have to constantly ask for money, which that money might come and go. It's sustainable. And what's great is that if you're able to grow that business, then it means you're able to grow the impact you have. It just seems like a win-win for everyone. So I said about, well, it turns out ever since then, I've been working on social enterprises and impact-driven businesses. So what is the social issue we're addressing with Stitch? Well, if you're a Stitch member, you know this already. But if you're over 50, you get used to seeing a lot of advertising that looks a bit like this. It sells this amazing promise that as we age, life is full of fun, holidays, friendship, that sort of thing. For many people it is, but for many people, it can sometimes feel a bit more like this. And that's because as we age, there are a lot of factors that can cause our social circles to shrink. Whether that's divorce, baby boomers have the highest divorce rates now of any generation. It can be relocation. You might relocate to live closer to your kids. Your friends might relocate, even if you stay put. It can be illness and of course death. And this is a super important issue because not only are we living longer these days than ever before, but it turns out there's something even worse for our health than either smoking or obesity. And it's true whether we're in our 80s or our 50s, whether we're men or women. And that's loneliness. If you're over 60, you're 45% more likely to die in the next 12 months than someone with good social connections. And you're 64% more likely to develop dementia. The health impact of loneliness and isolation is so strong, in fact, the US Surgeon General estimates it has the same negative health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And that's why we created Stitch. You might think of Stitch as a website and an app that helps you make new social connections through events, activities, interest groups, and discussions. But what Stitch really is a community built by members for members with the goal of improving the lives of anyone over 50 through positive social connections. And what's been amazing has been to see how our message of community-driven social impact has resonated with our members who have helped create positive impact in communities all over the world. So when you think about Stitch, you can think about two things. There's Stitch the organisation and Stitch the community. And together, the impact that Stitch and the Stitch community has had on the sum of our members' lives has been just so inspiring. Here are some of the quotes from our members who've told us how Stitch has impacted their lives. And when you see this, you can understand this is the reason we do what we do. But after we've been running the community for a while, we came to realise there are a few pieces of the puzzle that were still missing. The first of these was recognition. Not recognition for Stitch, but recognition for the community. Because it became pretty clear to us, the community itself is a not-for-profit entity. Our members, by definition, are not making a profit. There's no commercial incentive for our members. It's all about creating a positive impact. But they weren't recognised for being part of a not-for-profit charity. So when our members would try to book an event, it might be a park booking, it might be a venue where if they were recognised as part of a charity, they could get either free or discounted booking fees. They weren't able to do so because Stitch and the community wasn't a charity. The second issue related to donations. Stitch started to receive donations from our members who wanted to see us continue to make an impact. They understand that as a social enterprise, we do face challenges to be sustainable, and members were making donations to the organisation, but because we weren't a charity, those donations were not recognised for tax-deductible purposes, and we realised it would have been great to be able to give the members who are making those donations the benefit of being a not-for-profit charity. But the third and most important issue was how we made sure we could provide access for all. So as a social enterprise, as I've explained, Stitch has a business model that helps us grow and sustain the business. And that's really for us driven by membership fees, because we found that was the best way to make sure the organisation was always acting in the interest of our members. The problem is that means some people who might not be able to afford the membership were missing out. We do have a free membership level. It's designed to reach everybody, but we know that people who get the most out of Stitch are our full members. So if you are financially disadvantaged or you have other real challenges, you might be the people who are most in need and we weren't able to reach you. So because of our social mission, we wanted to look at, well, could we address this by becoming or turning the community into a not-for-profit charity, opening doors to allow us to address all three of those issues, reach people who needed to be reached, and be able to tap into things like donations to be able to provide additional assistance to the people who are most in need. And that's exactly what we did. Just turned out to be a little bit more complicated than we expected. As you can imagine, there are a number of regulations around creating a not-for-profit charity, particularly one with tax-deductible status. That means people who don't make donations are able to get a tax refund on that donation. Most members of the community aren't viewed by the Australian Charities Commission as deserving of pity and compassion sufficient for making tax-deductible donations. It's only some members in the community. So the complicating challenge for us was that we had this mission of creating the not-for-profit charity, but the beneficiaries of the charity were only able to be those members who passed a certain threshold when it came to deserving assistance. Things like extreme isolation and distress, poverty, disability, things like that. So if you think about the community covers everybody. We've got people over 50, men and women all over the country, all over the world, but within that community, only a certain number of people qualify as being the beneficiaries of the charitable component of the community. If you've been to any of my monthly events for new members, you'll have heard me talk about the assistance program we provide for any members who are in distress or may face challenges and be becoming part of the community so we can help them out. Our assistance program has started small because it's limited by the fact that the only financial donor to the program initially has been Stitch itself. But once we introduced the ability for all members to make a voluntary donation just as part of their regular Stitch membership, we're super excited about what we're going to be able to achieve with this program. So in summary, what this means is that we have what they call a hybrid model when it comes to social impact. Stitch is a social enterprise making a positive social impact for anyone over 50, whether they're deserving of a donation or not. The Stitch community, also known as Wipe Out Loneliness, is the not-for-profit charity whose beneficiaries are those members of the community who meet the Charities Commission definition of experiencing distress and suffering. But it's really important to note that everyone in the community forms a part of the charity. The community only exists because of all its members. We wouldn't be able to provide social activities to the members that the charity serves if the whole community itself didn't exist. So that's why we often talk about all of our members being volunteers. We do actually have an official volunteering program, and you are welcome to join. There's so many things you can do as a volunteer, and we get really involved in organising and facilitating the focused areas of volunteering. But even if you don't want to be a volunteer, you are actually part of the social impact that we're producing through the charity. Even if you don't organise an event or activity, just by showing up, you are helping create this social fabric that the beneficiaries of the charity, of course, are then benefiting from. Everybody wins. So there's a social enterprise component, there's the charity component, and it doesn't really matter where you fall, but as long as you're involved in contributing to the social fabric of the community, you are making a positive social impact. It's pretty cool, certainly in my view. It's worth noting there are few organisations involved in order to make sure we comply with the regulations in Australia and the US, and the same will be true when we get to the point of establishing the charity in other countries such as the UK too. For the social enterprise, the Australian entity is Stitch Holdings, while the US entity is Stitch Connect Inc. On the charity side in Australia, it's Stitch Community Limited, and we're establishing it as Stitch Community in the US too. Now, I know that's a lot to explain, and I hope I haven't confused you with all the details, or even worse, bored you to death. You are still watching, aren't you? The details are important because it helps explain how we make an impact and why. But the most important thing I would like you to take away is how important you are. If you are a member of the community, you are part of the story. You are part of making an impact, whether you like it or not. Just by participating, enriching your own life, you are enriching lives of others and helping make an impact along the way. And that's really the most important thing. The bonus is that by being a not-for-profit charity, we're able to deliver even more benefits to all of our members. If you want to make a donation to the community, you can. Please do so, it's great. But if not, that's fine. Any member of the community can make use of the reduced fees on booking venues. And if you're in need of assistance, please visit wipeoutloneliness.org/assistance and let us know. Stitch is a journey. I'd be the first to admit we don't have all the answers about how to sustain the community and keep it going and growing and making the biggest impact possible. But I've met so many amazing members along the way that I know together we will make it happen. Thanks for being part of the journey with me, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.